Hello, hello. Hi, y'all. Let's see. It's like whack-a-mole trying to get people in. There's like a bunch of really heavy construction going on outside. Can you hear it or no? No? Okay, good. Just making sure. I was like, I'll just put on these headphones and use the mic, and hopefully that'll make it less obnoxious. Well, hi, y'all. Today is just like full open Q&A, whatever you need. Like we can go all over the map from mindset to scaling to how to get your first client to whatever. So who would like to start us off?
I can.
Okay, great. We'll go you and then we'll go Holly.
Okay. So I was just listening to the podcast you recently did about um, whether to take insurance or not, or keep taking insurance. But it felt a little motivational interviewing, like
Oh, did
a
it?
little bit. You know what I mean? Like it's okay, keep taking insurance. And you had mentioned something about the confidence to market yourself and how it's important for therapists to be able to work through that if that's a little bit of a stumbling block or holding us back. And I was wondering some advice about that.
Yeah. So this fear of being seen is it's a pretty big deal. And when we're starting our practices, we often feel like the imposter syndrome is really strong. And so then it makes it really hard to feel like, great, let me put myself out there when I've got both these things going on. I'm not sure I even know how to do therapy or have ever helped anybody anyway. Like we can get really insecure when we're starting our practice or when it's plateaued and we need to build. And so part of it is acknowledging the imposter syndrome for what it is, which in my mind is like it's you doing something new, period. Like every time I do something new, I get imposter syndrome every single time. At this point, because I like doing lots of new things, I'm like, oh, here it is. It's just because I'm doing something new instead of letting it take me down with it. The fear of being seen is sometimes rooted in that, and sometimes it's rooted in like, what if what I say I think is right, but it's not right, and everybody tells me how wrong it is, and I am. And that's less imposter syndrome and more like, what if I'm actually wrong? Which is scary and hard. And that can be anything. That can be the way you do therapy, but it could also be like the way you look. What if I do videos and everybody tells me like, you look stupid in some way, and all of our insecurities are going to come up. They're just going to when we're doing this hard thing. So part of the thing that makes putting ourselves out there feel worth it is when it works and we get clients. But if we keep holding ourselves back and we don't just do the damn thing, then we don't get the opportunity to have that positive reinforcement for it.
Yeah.
So long story short, the advice is like, do the thing that feels least scary consistently. So like if that's networking, it's like find the least scary people to network with, like old coworkers that you got along with. Like you don't need to go to like the scary psychiatrist or the scary PCP. Go to the people that feel like, oh, I can have an easy conversation with these people. Um, and that's most therapists, really. Not everybody's going to be a great fit, but I would say too, there's clarity gets in the way of marketing. So if you don't have an extremely clear niche, then it's really hard to create content. Um, so of those things, like which one are you struggling with the most or something else?
Yeah. I think, yeah, figure, the niche is one. And also, I know it sounds weird, but also like believing that it will work. There's this sense of like, what if I try all these things and I fail and I, you know, um, don't don't get any good results from doing all these scary things.
Yeah, that's fair. Here's the thing though, people don't usually fail private practice if they keep trying. Right now, it's taking people a longer time to get full than it has in a really long time. Right now feels like, I don't know if anybody was in practice. Adam, I think you might have been in practice in 2020. But right now, these last few months have felt like April and May of 2020, when there was this collective breath holding and clients weren't reaching out and therapists were freaking out. And then like the dam broke. I don't know why everybody just broke at the same time. I think we all just need to exhale. It's not like anything really changed in June, but that was probably the busiest summer many people have had in private practice. And I think for a variety of reasons that I could speculate on, there are a lot of reasons people are holding their breath and not spending any money right now on therapy. I think there are some people who are also just kind of afraid of being cracked open when they feel vulnerable and scared. Um, and I think that there will be a similar exhale. It might not be quite the intense one that we had in 2020, but what I'm seeing is some people getting like they're working, they're doing the right things. And because it's not happening as quickly as it has for their friends who started practices 2 years ago, they're like, maybe this isn't for me and I should just stay in my job. And that's the last thing. I would rather you work slow and steady. You don't have to go super hard, but like slow and steady to get where you want to go. Because if you keep doing like whatever marketing strategies you're doing and you're doing them the right ways, you will get full. It'll happen.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for starting us off. Let's see, Holly, you were next, and then we'll go to Monica after that.
I'm realizing that my ideal client has shifted from when I first like developed my ideal client. So my niche is anxious, overwhelmed millennials who struggle with their self-worth.
Mhm.
Um, I think even more niched down is that that comes from their religious upbringing.
Mhm.
Um, Not necessarily like trauma in like a big way from, like a cult or something, but just purity culture and women's roles in society and things like that. So that like one more layer of specificity.
Mhm.
Um, and so I'm wondering how I should incorporate that into my marketing. I feel like I don't want to redo my entire website because I
Fair.
just did my entire website. Well, I
Uh-huh.
moved it from Wix to Squarespace and did some revamping of it. Um, but I don't know, like, should I add it as an extra specialty? Like right now I have anxiety, self-worth, and EMDR specialty pages. Like, should I add a religious or spiritual trauma? The problem with that is that um, my ideal client doesn't label it as trauma.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't want to use that word, but then I don't know, like, another thing I've been playing with is like religious or spiritual deconstruction, possibly. Or since my ideal client does have this like religious upbringing component, should I redo like how I present my marketing on my website and obviously everywhere else too.
Well, everything else is the same about your niche, right? This is just a layer underneath. So I think you can keep the vast majority of your website up because what they're looking for is the same, like it's the self-worth stuff. They're not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily, if they're not identifying it as trauma, they're not yet making that connection probably of like, I need to divest from some things that I was taught in order to be able to feel like wholly human.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think in that case, you could do a specialty page and maybe it also depends on your ideal client. Are they still wanting to be of the faith they were raised in, just like a different um, denomination or flavor or what have you? Or are they like, I want nothing to do with religion. I'm like, where are they with that?
They they want to figure out how to like continue incorporating faith into their life, but you know, figuring out what they want to bring forward and what they need to leave behind.
Got it. Okay. So then like the deconstruction and the word divesting probably aren't the ones to use either.
Okay.
So what you could do is on your homepage, you could weave in, um, like you could either do one paragraph or you could do like a couple sentences on a couple paragraphs that already exist on your website that say something like, many of my clients realized that some of the messages they were given in their religious upbringing no longer fit. They're still people of faith, or they're exploring their faith, but they don't like the idea that, like, they find that some of their self-worth is rooted in this idea that they were supposed to play these specific roles, which don't
Mm-hmm.
feel aligned for them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So just like, yeah, adding that layer of specificity to, I think probably my homepage, but as well as my anxiety and self-worth pages.
Mhm.
I I'm just finishing up a blog about EMDR where I do weave in the like religious upbringing stuff into how I'm explaining it. So probably adding that to my EMDR page as well. And then not necessarily, yeah, I guess maybe I need to decide for myself if I want to like separate it out as its own specialty, or just keep it as part of the like history and cultural um context of my ideal client. Do you think it like does it matter? Or how would I decide if I want to have add another specialty?
I think it's like, is your ideal client looking for that? Like, is that
Okay.
what they would search up? Is that um, something they've already identified is causing some of their turmoil, or is that something they come to and exploring things more deeply with you?
My ideal client already knows that that's part of the problem.
Then I would definitely have a specialty page about it.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And I think like that distinction, I like your confidence in saying, like, you're really clear. Because what we often do is hedge, and we're like, well, my ideal client knows. But there are all these people who don't know. So I don't know if I should, right? If your ideal client has a clear perspective, I want you to market to that clear perspective. So
Okay.
awesome. Yeah. So I would do a specialty page and I would link to it when you mention these folks in your homepage so
Okay.
that you've got those links throughout your website that go from page to page each other, make it a little spider web, makes Google happy.
Okay. I have not done that, so I will do that.
Yeah, so you could do that with your self-worth pages too. And you can also do it between your specialty pages of like, sometimes this impacts self-worth on your religion page
Mm.
and vice versa. So yeah,
Okay. Cool. That's helpful. Thank you.
absolutely. Good to see you.
You too.
All right, Monica.
Sorry, it took a while to unmute myself.
No worries.
I have a nitty-gritty question about email encryption. I saw your post about Powbox,
Yeah.
and I was just wondering, do you like that better than Proton or MailHippo or the other services?
Yeah. So what I like about it, Powbox, for those who don't know, it's Paubox. And if you already have a Gmail account or you're going to set one up that's like at AllisonPerrier.com, right? That's at your URL. What they do is they do some like behind the scenes magic. I don't understand how it works, but it makes it where it's encrypted on both ends. Because if you have, say, HIPAA compliant Google and you're sending emails from there, it's encrypted when you send emails, but it's not encrypted when you get emails back, unless the other person has the same thing. But Powbox makes it where in and out, all the emails are encrypted. And I like it better than the ones that create a portal, because the portal's a pain in the ass sometimes. Like, people, if you're sending it encrypted, people have to like either use a password depending on the program, or you ask them a question only they would know the answer to. And then you're like, what's their dog's name? Maybe I'll ask them that question. So it just becomes a little convoluted, whereas this is just like you get an email from Gmail and it's just clean and easy. So it only works with Gmail accounts that are at your URL. But Yeah, I think I like it better just because it makes it less complicated for the users, because our clients often need less complicated. Because they're like, I've got enough going on and I can't sign into your effing portal. I forgot my password or whatever. So yeah, I like it because it feels normal.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. What else, y'all?
I've got a question, Allison.
Yeah.
So I know that, I'll make this kind of quick. So I'm now a group practice owner,
Mhm.
and I actually have a second office um, that has been challenging, to say the
Mhm.
least, because I had a therapist over there that just would not, she would not trust the process on the marketing stuff I was asking her to do, and she just wouldn't do it. Well,
Mhm.
now she's gone, but there were a few clients over there. So that means that now I'm in this position of being over there 1 day a week.
Mhm.
And I want to be able to market that because I know that it can be a very lucrative location. I know that
Mhm.
it can. I know a lot of the providers already, and I'm working on building that network. Um, but I don't want to get pigeonholed over there.
Right. Like you
That's
don't
not
have to
where,
be you there. Mhm.
right. I don't want me to be the primary therapist there.
Mhm.
I don't mind taking on a few clients and maybe doing a little bit of telehealth or something like that when I get somebody more in that office.
Mhm.
I have I've really struggled with how to market the job because I
Mhm.
need some help over there. And I know all of the niche stuff that we've talked about,
Yeah.
and I believe in that. The problem is that since I don't have a candidate yet, I don't know exactly what their niche is going to be, and my niche may not be what they do. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Mhm.
And so trying to market, this has been a challenge for me because I don't know how to market a niche that I don't know what is. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
so I've had a few great candidates. One specifically that I loved. They are kind of niche the same way I am,
Mhm.
same training and everything, but for him it felt like a lateral move.
Mhm.
And so he chose not to. So that's one of the challenges I'm running into right now is I don't know how to get somebody in.
Mhm. Yeah, I had a conversation with Maureen Warbach, who runs the Group Practice Exchange, on the podcast. I don't think it's aired
Right.
yet. Um, but she and I were talking about how like it is much harder for group practice owners to find great candidates right now. So I want to validate that like it's not you. It's not where you live. This is a problem all across the country. Um, so part of it is like you can't be too competitive with your fees or all of a sudden your business is going under. A lot of people expect group practice owners, to be a lot more competitive with what they're paying people, when any group practice owner knows like the profit margins are so slim. I know y'all, if you've worked in a group practice, it feels like, God, I'm giving you 40% of what I make. Are you kidding? But like that gets eaten up really quickly. Um, so all that to
And
say,
even with that, I'm trying to sweeten the pot a little bit.
yeah.
But if they've got a lot of experience and I believe that they're worth the investment, I'll go up to 63. I could potentially go up to 65, but I'm not throwing that out there.
Mhm.
Um, And I offer after a year a continuing ed stipend, and I
Mhm.
offer a small sign-on bonus. And
Mhm.
I try to offer as much as I can and still be
Yeah.
able to be profitable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everybody says that sounds great, but the caseload that we're left with is about 3 or 4 clients starting out,
Mhm.
and nobody wants
Right.
to jump into a almost non-existent caseload to help me build something.
Yeah, which makes sense, right?
It
Like I get
does.
it. If they're currently employed and they're looking to get out of an agency job,
Right.
that might be like if you can be like you can work, in the evenings
Right.
until we can
Right.
match your salary, or Saturdays or whatever works for you. Like I'm flexible.
I would
Um,
prefer that actually. That means the burden's not all on me
yeah.
for their
So
income.
how do we recruit those folks? Those of you who might have been in agencies and looking for jobs elsewhere, like what were you looking for? How is it phrased in a way that sounds like something you want to join? Y'all can put anything in the chat if you'd like to help
I can
Adam
tell you
out.
one thing that I used that
Mhm,
some people did find somewhat attractive, because they told me,
mhm.
was I say private practice lifestyle without the administrative headache, or
Yeah,
something like that, because I cover all of the expenses.
yeah,
So
yeah.
they
Come
can
do
just show
therapy in
up,
your notes
do
and
the
leave.
job.
Yeah.
And I think that the thing that is stressful for them on that is the fact that it does take time to build,
Mhm,
and they don't necessarily trust that I have a process that actually does work, even though I know
mhm.
I do.
Right,
I mean, you taught me. So,
right. That's
and
me
uh,
bowing.
and
Yeah.
so and so that's part of it.
Mhm,
Um, and whenever I tell them, I cannot go shake people's hands for you. If I'm
mhm,
the one doing all of the face-to-face kind of part of the marketing, and we're in a building full of therapists, it's not hard to walk down the hall.
mhm.
And so, but people will gravitate towards me if I'm the one doing all of the reach out.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's what so that's kind of that's where I'm stuck.
So you're wanting them to do some of the marketing themselves too. So it's not totally just come and do therapy and leave. It's come and
Not
do this
completely.
this thing that scares you, that you
Yes.
don't want to do because that's how most therapists feel about networking and marketing. Um, I mean, one thing is you could do all that handshaking, and then when you get the referrals, you could do probably what you did when you first started your group and
Mhm.
what I do, which is I currently don't have any openings, but so and so is who I would send my friends and family to, and I can
There
get you
you go.
scheduled with them.
Yeah.
So you can do that. You can also look for the candidate that wants that. So flexibility has been talked about as a big like a big helpful thing in the chat. So you could say like make up to X number of dollars, like however much you can reasonably guarantee when they're full, work no more than 25 hours a week. Like
Mhm.
you positioning it with, work the hours you want and positioning it with like you get the flexibility, you get to make good money, and you don't have to work your ass off for it.
Right.
Um, I think if
And
you're
I've got candidates that are saying in they come in and they say, I want to make 100 grand.
right.
And then my thought is, well, go start your own private practice then.
Right, right. Because most
But
group practices are not going to be able to support that. Um,
but I also have a therapist working for my practice now that's making almost 90 grand,
mhm,
and so
yeah.
I don't know.
And
But I
so it
like the
might
idea of the
be,
flexibility. That
yeah.
yeah,
And how many therapy clients is that person seeing per week?
probably about 25,
Okay,
something like that.
yeah. So, I mean, in my mind, when you're coming from an agency, 90,000 and 100,000 are the same thing, right? It's
Absolutely.
already so much more than you're making. And 100,000 is what people latch on to because it's a nice round number. Not because they've done the math of like, what do I need and want to be able to put away for retirement, to take care of myself and go on vacation. So I think if you're saying like, make up to 90 grand, seeing up to 25 clients a week, and do the math to make sure that that's something you can not
Actually,
guarantee, but like, is
it's
likely.
plausible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a reasonable expectation. Um, I feel like, working the hours you want, I feel like that's a real get. And
Yeah.
in the job ad, you can say, we'll start off slow. So if you're in an agency right now or you're in another job, that's fine. We'll figure out the breaking point at which it makes sense for you to leave your job. Like people need to be shown how to do it instead of being like, well, I won't even know when to quit that job. So
Yeah.
if you say like, I will help, we will do math to figure out when you can leave your job and do this full time, so that you can support your life.
But that feels like maybe that's a discussion to have as part of the interview process. I don't know because I don't know how to put that into a one sheet
Right.
ad. You know what I mean? And I don't know because I've got an idea of what that would probably look like.
Hmm.
And anybody that asks, I'm happy to talk about that.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing is where do I put the ad?
Hmm.
Because I've tried doing like the free ads that you can do through Indeed or LinkedIn, but
Hmm.
the problem is they don't get bumped, and
Yeah.
and I don't have the time to go in and take them down and re-upload them and all of that manually.
Hmm.
But I also have already been charged like almost $100 on an ad that went nowhere.
Hmm.
And so, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so I'm just like, I can't afford to just be throwing money away
Hmm.
from candidates.
Right. I think I want you to write your ad with the same kind of specificity that you write your copy.
Yeah.
You have an ideal candidate in mind.
Yeah.
I want you to write the ad for that person. Um, and then what you could do if there are any Facebook groups around, you could say, not like, hey, I'm hiring, but you could say, hi, I'm wondering if you guys can help me out. I'm about to post this ad and I want to make sure it really brings in some good candidates. Will you give me some feedback on it? And
Hmm.
I guarantee you will get at least two people who are like, can you hire me? Um,
That's a good idea. I hadn't thought
or my
about that.
friend is looking, or whatever, you know? So I feel like that is a way, and you can get like valuable feedback on the ad,
Good.
but you can also um, possibly get some candidates just from that without spending money.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it okay to put an ad on my Google business page
I would think
or
so.
something like that?
I would think
Um,
so. Yeah. Because I mean, it's, and on your website, do
right.
you?
Well, because my website, I've got a hot springs um, tab in my website.
Mhm.
Currently, it still has the contact, or it still has my previous therapist that's not there
Mhm.
on the website. So I need to update that. I
Yeah.
can put my own information in there
Yeah.
for
Do that.
now,
Hmm.
and also have a little blurb about we're hiring it, also but I can't say it's a full-time position because it'll have to work into that.
Right. Well, it could just be like you could have a little thing on the menu of like now hiring, and you don't have to say full time. You can say, this is where you can really go into more depth. And also, no clients are going to see this. So make sure that it is everything, single word is something that you want clients to potentially see. So that might not be rates, for instance. That
Right,
could
right, right.
be contact me for rates. I'm happy to talk openly about that. Um, yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then I think the
Post.
patients. So right now, I think where I am, just trying to get clear. I don't want to take up too much time here. I really don't.
You're
But
good.
the what I'm doing right now, and I think it's right, is
Mhm.
I am over there 1 day a week, and when I'm not seeing clients, I have put together a spreadsheet of all of the referral sources within the
Mhm.
building,
Yeah.
and I'm reaching out to them. I'm taking cards by. I'm giving them. A lot of them have requested, what insurances do we take because we are an insurance practice.
Mhm.
So I've kind of created a one sheet,
Great.
um, and so I'm handing them out to therapists, shaking hands, kind of getting to know people.
Mhm.
Um, and right now, that's kind of what I'm doing while I'm still trying to advertise the position
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
know that they will reach out to me
Mhm.
for those referrals, and then I can do exactly what you're talking about. Hey, I don't have any time right now on my caseload, but this other person. So it's stressful for me in the moment, but I'm
Mhm.
willing to take on the momentary uh, pain of that for the growth that I'm expecting. So
Yeah. Yeah. And post since you're in the Facebook community, post your ad once you've got it really well honed and you're describing your ideal client. Like maybe post it in our group first before you post it in your local one so that you can get some feedback from us first.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I
Yeah.
forget that I'm a part of that, but
I'm there. I'm
Yeah.
there, yeah, a few times a week.
All right. I appreciate
Awesome.
it.
Sure. All right, we'll go Evelyn and then Sarah.
Awesome. Hi.
Hi.
So it's my first time here. I'm so excited. I've listened to so many talks and episodes, but I don't know exactly what to ask. I guess because I'm stuck. So I just want to describe it really quickly. So I'm in group private practice right now. I'm contractor, and I want to build my own thing, private practice. And I'm kind of like in the middle. I did a lot of research on like how to start. Like I've done it, created spreadsheets and everything. And I don't have any new clients coming in for a long time now. Group private practice is like not doing anything at all. And I'm only teletherapy. So I don't even use their office. So I don't have like that chunk of money that I calculated to start. Kind of just like take off, right? So, and I have some clients who probably might transfer, but it's only like three. So I don't know, like, do I just sit and try to save money, which is like minimally it's coming like almost nothing because I only have like 5 clients, which is ridiculous. Like, so I don't know. I don't know. Any ideas or how to just proceed or not proceed?
Have you signed anything that says you won't start your own practice while you're working at the group practice?
I don't think so. It's been so long. It's been like 2017.
Okay.
She's fine. My boss is fine.
Okay. Well, and you're a contractor, so legally you're supposed to be able to have another job. So they can't actually limit you from that, actually. So what I would do is start your own practice on the side while maintaining your group practice. Like if they're not feeding you clients into the group practice right now, you've got the time and energy, hopefully, to be able to start your own thing without significant investment. So, yeah.
Isn't it gonna be like a conflict of interest because I didn't tell her that I'm starting. I will obviously have that conversation one-on-one once I'm ready to launch, because that's the right thing to do, but not yet. So it's just like if she sees like, oh, my new website, if I get the money to launch the website, but like it's just, I don't know, it can get messy, or I don't even know.
Well, I mean, as a contractor, and this is a thing where so many group practice owners, they want employees, but they don't want to pay the taxes on employees, so they hire contractors instead, and then they get all up in arms when a contractor behaves as a contractor does, which is to have multiple gigs. So, I mean, you can have a really frank conversation with her and say, like, I'm not able to get enough clients through the group right now to sustain me, so I'm going to be starting my own practice on the side. And I mean, like, you can just have a really open conversation about that, or you can just start. You don't owe her an explanation of what you're doing. That's not the nature of your like legal relationship. It might feel better interpersonally to be talking about it. But you don't legally owe that to her. So yeah, I would start your own thing on the side. I would really market well. You said if you could get enough money to get a website together, you can do it for $20 a month on Squarespace.
Squarespace. Yeah, I heard that you recommended that, so I'm really looking into that. But I know I need to have like simple practice, then I need like a physical address, then I need like so many things like that are mandatory, like liability insurance. And together it just turns out like, I don't know, $700 at least, which like just like from the top, I don't have that.
Right, right. Well, I think so. So I did not grow up with a ton of money. So right now, what I always do is I look at like, okay, well, what's my mind now goes to like, okay, well, what's the optimized situation for, say, having a landscaper come and fix the yard or something. But then I go to what is the I'm broke version look like? So the I'm broke version, like, let's say you do have a virtual practice, so you don't need a physical address. You use one of the, EHR systems that is not as expensive, or you do paper and pen. You don't have to use an EHR. As long as it's behind two locks, like a door and a filing cabinet that are both locked, you're good to go. So you can be old school from a records perspective. I do strongly recommend a practice management system once you have a few clients, because things become chaos quickly. But you can start off and get to a point where you can afford to do that. Yeah, you need to pay liability insurance. But as a sole proprietor, that's going to be a lot less expensive than if you were an LLC. You don't need to be an LLC right now. So there are all these, like, if you absolutely had to start now, how could you do it in the most bare bones way? And if you're keeping your group practice job, then you're able to continue to have at least the income you've got from them. And then every single dime that you make from your own practice, I want you to sock away. Like, don't spend it on anything except overhead and then savings, so that you can eventually make that shift over.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you so
absolutely.
much for these ideas. Thank you.
Mhm. All right, Sarah.
Hey,
Hi.
thanks. So I am new to private practice. I launched my practice about 3 months ago after 15 plus years running treatment centers. And so needed to make a change, and I'm loving it. And it's all the things of starting now.
Yeah.
And so I have kind of a two-part question. So I am private pay, fully virtual in North Carolina, eating disorders therapist.
Love it. Hello, it's my twin.
Hi. Within that, the population I love most are the clients who have gone to treatment, done the things. They could teach you DBT. They know all the skills. They need more. They would be in that bucket that many folks might call chronic or severe and enduring. That is who I love to work with. And so I know the eating disorders therapist. I know people. I am struggling to figure out how best to kind of market that specific niche or get in front of those particular clients. And then I think in parallel to that, many of those clients have sunk a lot of financial resources into treatment. And so as a cash pay therapist, I'm trying to figure out how to either think about what some sort of reduced rate model looks like, or if that's not really the way to best reach those people and serve them. And so I think I'm trying to figure out how to best reach that particular niche in my niche, and be financially successful for myself as well as financially achievable for clients, which feels like a big question, but I'm curious for your thoughts. Kind of
Yeah. Okay. So the fact that you work with the more like chronic, the harder clients, we'll just call them the harder clients,
Yes.
because they are. Most of us in the eating disorder world, we would like to stay more in the disordered eating and like mildly, but I don't need to go to treatment population. You are who we all want to know.
Okay.
So I want to be really clear that you're not stepping on any toes, networking with other eating disorder therapists and saying, I love the ones nobody else likes to work with. Like, I want the folks who've been to treatment 4 times. I want the ones who can like tell you about Marsha Lanahan's entire life story and how to do DBT backwards and forwards, but can't seem to make it happen in their lives. Like, those are my people. Talk to all the treatment centers, because they have their frequent flyers. They have the ones that maybe they've only been here once, but they've been everywhere else twice. And they really want them to land with somebody who isn't intimidated by their struggle.
Okay.
So much of what's going to bring people into you is going to be networking.
Okay.
And you got to be super explicit about loving the hard ones.
Okay.
In your website copy, I want you to be so like, you've been to therapy, you've been to treatment, you could teach me how to do therapy. I have no doubt. And your life still sucks. And this is still driving you, but lucky for you, like, I know how to help. I know how to help you get where you want to go. And so it's instilling confidence instead of them seeing like yet another, therapist. It's helping them trust you before they even take the step.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, like, you're gonna get so full, Sarah. You're gonna get so full. So it's just a matter, and for the financial piece, let's talk about that, because that's very real. And if they can continue to pay these treatment centers, they can pay you.
Okay.
And so it's not sacrificing your financial well-being for people who would find some way to make it work if they had to go back into residential.
Okay.
Like, because you're going to keep them
Helpful.
from having to go back into residential, ideally, like that's
The
the
goal.
goal.
Mm-hmm.
So keeping
Okay.
your private pay model, I will say, if for those of you who are interested in like sliding scale, a model that is new to me that I've learned through some of my students is the green bottle model. Green
Part
bottle.
of that.
And it's interesting. It's basically like if you offer sliding scale, it has 3 different, I don't know why it's called the green bottle model, but 3 different green bottles. And it's basically like, you know, if you can go on vacation once a year, if you can do X, Y, and Z, like you're in this bottle over here. If, whereas on the other side is like, there's no way you could grab a coffee from Starbucks on your way to somewhere. Like that's just not able to happen. You're often worried about making your rent or your mortgage. You don't have a car, or if you do, it's breaking down a lot. Like it's the people who actually really, really need sliding scale.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the beauty of that model is that when you show that to a client, they realize, oh, well, yeah, I do get a Starbucks every morning. I do X, you know, I do X, Y, and Z. I do have hobbies that I can afford to pay for, that if this is my priority for a time, I can pay for therapy out of pocket. So it kind of helps them
Mm-hmm. I like that.
see that, well, it might not be comfortable and there will be sacrifices. They can pay your fee.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one way to make it work. But this is, you know, this is a population who's likely relying heavily on parents, on partners, on like other people in their lives who are helping support them. And so like everybody in the whole situation wants this as resolved as it can be.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can show them through your confidence and through your competence that you can make that happen, then they're happy to pay you. Because residential is way more expensive than you are.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's helpful. Thank you.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. All right. Who's next? There are a couple of you who haven't gotten a chance to ask questions. I'm not going to call on anybody because that's not my vibe, but I'm an extrovert. I don't mind being called on, but I know a lot of y'all are introverted. Selena, I see your face.
I
Does
was
that mean?
gonna say I can pop in, yes.
Yay.
I don't necessarily have a super thought out question though. So I have a fully virtual practice. I'm part of the psychology compact, so
Mhm.
licensed pretty much across the country, so clients every which way. I'm
Mhm.
also in Western North Carolina, and I was wondering if I moved here like a year ago.
Welcome.
If you had any tips for connecting or like networking more locally, just to kind of get that piece. I'm, like I said, fully virtual. I don't have like a physical office or anything, but trying to expand and get a little bit more of even just like a North Carolina community.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So I don't know if it all fell apart after the storm.
Mhm.
Everybody, the storm, like Helene and the storm is like a before and after event in anybody who lives in this part of the world. So I don't know if it fell apart after the storm, but there was a not working monthly event
Okay.
for therapists that was at a brewery that I think drowned, or was severely injured, the brewery. But if you want to email me, I can get you the
Okay.
names of the people who were running that so you can reach out.
Awesome.
So not working is a good thing. Lenore Ryan is a graduate school over in Montford in Asheville, and they it's a graduate school for therapists, and sometimes they will do continuing education, like live CEs, and they'll do like some networking beforehand.
Okay.
I'll also say just like going through Psychology Today or websites and finding people or the various therapist Facebook pages, and just reaching out and being like, hey, would you want to grab coffee? Works really well here. Like we're a
Okay.
very friendly crew.
Awesome.
So if people have the time, they'll often make the time to hang out with you.
Yeah, cool.
But there's definitely a welcome vibe. Like, I don't think anybody's
Okay.
gonna be like, don't steal my clients. There are some communities that are like that, but ours is not one. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Very
yeah,
cool. Awesome. Thank you.
sure, absolutely. What else, y'all? Holly, your face showed back up. Were you going to ask something else? No? Okay. I just said I wasn't going to call on people, but I'm like, well, I know Holly. I'll call on Holly.
I do have one quick question, Allison, if I
Yeah,
can.
of course.
So, so I have considered going up on my rates a little bit. I'm currently at 160 across
Uh-huh.
the board for all of our therapists, and my therapists don't mind me setting the rate. I've thought
Mhm,
about going up to 175.
mhm,
Um, I wish I had done that when I increased last time, but I didn't.
mhm,
And so I've wanted to honor that. The problem that I'm running into is this kind of, it's not my scarcity mindset as much as the scarcity mindset of potential clients.
mhm,
Because um of the climate that we're in politically and all of that, where everything's more expensive. And I don't know if this is the right time, because
mhm.
I'm not personally scared to go up on rates as much as I want to make sure that it makes sense
Right.
for the environment that we're in. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah. And so to me, my thought is like, I appreciate you wanting to be very accommodating of clients, but everything is more expensive for all of your therapists and for you too. So
Mhm,
if y'all can make a little bit more, because typically the people who can afford 160 out of pocket can afford 175.
mhm,
And if therapy is a priority, which often if you're paying 160, it's a priority, then that
mhm,
extra $15 is doable.
mhm.
Um, but like, I don't want you to sacrifice your therapist's financial well-being and your financial well-being, um, because things are crazy economically. Um, so
And
yeah.
that's where I'm not sure how to even figure that out. Because if
Mhm.
people are really are kind of struggling to even get the 160 and then we bump it to 175, I'm afraid of potentially losing a few, which I wouldn't mind if it was just me, but
Right.
I'm also considering the other people involved in this.
Yeah. Well, you could do something like, because since it's private pay, like these folks are, you can do what you want. It's your practice, right? So you can say, um, we're raising our rates to 175. If this creates significant financial hardship for you, um, let's set up a time to talk.
Mhm.
And then if they're like, I'm barely making 160 work, you can be like, no problem. We'll keep you at 160.
Yeah, that's
Um,
cool.
you don't have to like unilaterally raise everyone. It's your practice. You can do
That's
what you
cool.
want.
Yeah,
So, but there are people who are like, I mean, it's fine. Yeah, 175, I can do that. And
yeah.
so we don't want to make assumptions about them that are gonna make it harder for your, no, where
'Cause
it
we
might get
we've
dicey.
we've literally had some clients that have said, I don't know why you don't charge more.
Right. Yeah.
And so, anyway,
So I think it's safe. I think it's safe to go up. And then if really it will cause hardship, like do have them have a conversation with you about it.
right.
Don't just be like, email me and let me know, but say like, let's schedule a time to talk on the phone. Um, because the people who are like, well, it'd be nice to not have my rate changed, aren't going to hop on the phone with you. They'll just pay the 175. Right. But
Right.
the people who are like, oh God, like, I don't want to lose my therapy, they'll hop on the phone
Right.
with you.
Yeah.
So
All right. I appreciate that.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, were you waiting for potentially another question?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I've done walking therapy, walk and talk therapy with a couple of my clients, and they've responded really well to it.
Mhm.
And so I was thinking about, and I like bought this book that this lady wrote who's a walk and talk therapist, going ins and outs of all of it. And I was wondering, have you worked with anybody who was a walk and talk
Oh yeah.
therapist? And is that like a good thing? If that's something that I would enjoy, and actually my office is like a mile from a walking trail, like in the
Mhm.
woods. You can walk by a waterfall and things like that. Would that be something good to add if I was interested in doing that?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it'd be a strong marketing pull because when people are looking for therapy, they're often looking for the thing that hurts. They're just
Right?
looking for like their niche,
Yeah.
basically your niche.
Right.
But I think you could add like a specialty page and say like, this is an option for those who are interested, and here's the benefits that I see in walk and talk therapy.
Okay.
I actually, my first private practice, I got to do walk and talk therapy because my office was this little cob house on 98 acres on the river. It was amazing.
Wow.
I know,
That's
I
cool.
should move back. But it's, yeah, I think like talking about not the research on it necessarily, but like what you see as the benefit, can help people be like, walk and talk sounds weird, you know, and help them see like it's not weird. And, you know, of course, if you decide to do it, you need to go over the limits of confidentiality with all that and everything.
Right.
But yeah, I think adding it to your practice is a great idea. And I think nature is healing and we all need more outside time.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
sure. What else? We have just a few more minutes.
Okay, well, as long as no one else is asking. So I noticed a few people were talking about like religious deconstruction or you know, religious injury. And I live in Utah, and so there is a lot of that because, you know, the Mormon or Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints religion is a high demand religion. I added something to my website about that, and I feel like my referrals have gone down. And so I'm wondering, like, is that something where you need to really lean hard into that particular niche and that ideal client to make it work? Or is it maybe better to be a little more like talking about religious practices and are they working for you in your life? Or some of these beliefs that you've been taught, like Holly was saying, maybe without making it like leave your religion, because I don't want to scare off religious people, but the people that religion has harmed that want to talk about it, I want to have like an opening for them.
Are the majority of your current clients like active LDS folks?
I've been in the past, and you know, full disclosure, that's something that I have deconstructed in the last few years. So you know, on the one hand, I felt like I wanted to be authentic to who I am, but then on the other hand, it's like, but if now I have half as many clients, maybe I need to find like a middle ground with that doesn't alienate people who I can still help and respect their religious beliefs.
Right. I guess like my thought is I'm trying to piece out whether putting that on your website has slowed down referrals versus like referrals are just slower for everyone right now.
Right. Yeah.
And I think like if most of your clients currently are not like devout Mormons who would be like
right. Like
afraid you're going to deconstruct them.
who recently came to me and were like, you know, I saw that you have deconstructed. That's why I chose you. So, you know, there are some people who are drawn to me because of that.
Yeah. I mean, if it is a piece of your ideal client, and this is again where we have to be really brave when we're marketing to our ideal clients, because we are potentially leaving some other people out and pissing some other people off. And so for your ideal client, if that's something that they're exploring or something they really want to work on, I would definitely leave it on there. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. We have 5 minutes. Any other questions?
Okay, I do have a quick question. I think I want to start sending like a quarterly email to, I guess it's like a warm letter to like my network. Do I need, and it'll just be, I think everyone just like BCC'd, or I know there's a way to like make the greeting say someone's name. and then send it all out, but I don't know how to do that, but I'm sure I could figure it out. But my question is, do I need to have permission from them to send out something like that in the same way like a newsletter that might be more geared towards clients, or can I just like email my network and say like, hey, happy spring, here's a anecdote from my practice and a reminder about this, and I read in my website. Do I need
So
their permission?
technically you need their permission if you're doing like
Okay.
a big group email like that. And with a BCC, you wouldn't be able to do the name because that's within like the software
Yeah.
of the email service providers that do the big campaigns, etc. So what I might do is just either send them one off, which you can do all
Yeah.
day long, and just have it cut and paste. What I'd recommend is making sure if you're going to do it quarterly, making sure that there's something of value for them, not just announcing like what you have going on available. It's interesting
Could
how
that
it's
be like a link to a blog? Like, hey, here's the, if it's, you know, helpful for whoever their client population would be, like, I wrote this blog, share it if you think it's helpful. I don't know. Like what kinds of things could I consider as like value to them? Or would it be more like a handout, like downloadable thing, or
I think it depends on the person.
okay.
And that's what makes it like time consuming and possibly weird.
Okay.
And it's interesting too, because the rules are different when you snail mail it. So if you
Okay.
wanted to like just print out a warm letter, you can send it to anybody every quarter as many times as you want.
Okay.
And it's more likely to get looked at because we get less snail mail than we get email.
That's what I did in January was I
Mhm.
like printed out letters and then I was like, is this lame? Should I just email?
Yeah, I know it's messy. But I also think it depends on who it's going to. Like if you're sending it to other therapists who have a similar client population, and you're like, oh, this blog might help them. They might be like, I mean, we're talking about that in therapy. I don't know that I'm going to send them your blog.
Sure.
Versus like maybe you use it in part to organize a networking get together or something. And you're like, I would, love for several of us to get together. How about this place at this time, this date? Let me know if that would work for you. I'd love to see you.
Okay.
So then that's valuable because it's an invitation.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to think that through.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, thanks.
Absolutely. Well, cool, y'all. We'll wrap it up then. Thanks for being here. I hope that you got some good value and I will talk with y'all later.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.